So today I'm talking about creating with no inspiration, or when you can't generate or jumpstart ideas. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm lately I've been really busy and kind of overwhelmed because I've had for the past several years a teaching studio in the town where I live, and I teach a little bit at another nonprofit art center. So I'm just a busy kind of teaching artist, and I started this YouTube channel just because I thought it would be something fun, and I just really love the YouTube thing because I never did videos or anything like that, and it's been really interesting, and I kind of really enjoy doing it, and I love the little community that's building and interacting that way and all, because I really love teaching on Zoom and stuff, so I thought I would like it. So that's why I kind of got into doing it, and I want to do more of it because I'm really enjoying the process and stuff. But anyway, we've had to close our studio that I had locally just because my friend's husband was really ill and things, and it's been very sad. So we had to close that down. So I've been really kind of stressed out about doing that. So sometimes when I come into my studio, I have no idea what to do. And that happens to a lot of people. So just the process of sitting down and figuring that stuff out, and a lot of times, if you don't have ideas, if you just show up at your table or in your studio and just show up ready to do something, your creativity can take over that process, okay? So I've done a little bit of that in live streams and on this channel over the course of the time I've had it, which is almost 2 years. And I do love my sketchbooks for that stuff, because this is where, even though I have lots of big finished paintings that I show and all that other stuff, all my work happens like on paper or in a sketchbook, or it's a little tiny study in one of my small watercolor books. It starts with a sketch or a small painting or something like that that gets developed into something bigger. So sometimes it's just something I'm working on that looks like nothing. It could just be a scribble. But I'm gonna just go through some of the stuff in this sketchbook really quick, because it's all over the place, because this is my workbook, one of my many workbooks, but I'm gonna just pop through. All right, so these are just color studies that I did for a class. So we just talked about, I don't know, color in this class or whatever. But then there's other things that I think I just, ideas. So, I don't know that I ever did anything with some of this stuff, but, I think this was for a class. It was no tans. These were still lives and things we did, I think, for classes, But a lot of this stuff just never gets seen. So for a while, I was playing with just like painting out all the backgrounds in this sketchbook and then painting over. And just seeing what happened. Because then I was just kind of like, well, I didn't have a choice about what the color was in the background. But you can see I just was playing in this book. I mean, who's ever going to put yellow in a background and then have to deal with the yellow, But I started using a lot more yellow after I started painting these yellow backgrounds, and I really like it because it's so bright. And a lot of these are warm-ups. I really like color block in the background sometimes. So I'm just going to flip through this quick because I don't want to go through a whole sketchbook thing. Maybe you're bored. So this was an intuitive painting. I know I did this as an intuitive painting. And I can't remember if this was, I think this might have been a very old, long ago live stream that I did. I go back to horses a lot just because I've always loved them, and I've had them forever, and I can, you know, they resonate with me. So flowers and portraits are something that, and I think this has a lot of collage on it because I could feel the paper underneath. But you know, flowers and portraits are something that show up a lot. And you'll see here, I've got everything in here. I've got the horse. This lady is dreaming. This was like a dream I think I had. And so this lady was dreaming, and this is her bed. And then she's having a dream. And that's what the horse in the sky is all about, and the flowers. And then these were, I actually did full-size versions of these, I think, later. But some of the stuff goes on to develop into other things. These were all the birds I saw on a vacation, I think, once, and the flowers. But you can see, like, my sketchbooks kind of are always all over the place. And then there'll be blank pages. This was like a sister's thing. And then just still lives and things. But contemporary still lives with like the color block in the background, and a sketch for something else that I did later. I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying not to bore you with my entire sketchbook. All right, let's just say. Oh, this was definitely a live stream of an intuitive abstract painting. So just kind of throwing down forms and colors and shapes. This was, I could feel the paint. Yeah, this is like a collage. But I always, like, my things are always foliage and portraits. And this is definitely an intuitive painting. So, like, I remember the morning that I went out, there was a deer in my backyard, and she didn't run away from me. A lot of times where I live, they're just not afraid of me because they see me out there all the time. And I just felt like this real connection with the doe, so I painted that. And so I have myself a little blank page here. I'm going to paint in watercolor and gouache, but what I did on the background here was I gave myself a color to work with, and I gave myself some watered down kind of beigey pink, hopefully I didn't get it all over myself, acrylic, but I watered it down. Now I very rarely will put, and I always talk about how I don't put water in acrylic paint and stuff. Well, when I put it in my sketchbook like this, I don't want anything shiny, okay? And I kind of want it a little bit rough. And so if I put it on full strength, it would have been too shiny, and the gouache that I'm going to use today wouldn't have stuck to it. And that's kind of why I'm doing this. And I'm going to go over it. All right, Cookie V, when people are rude, I'm glad that you're going to leave, and I don't want anybody being rude or impolite in my chat. So you're out of here, and you will be reported for acting rude in chat. That goes for anybody who shows up and decides to be rude in my chat. I write down your channel name, and you get reported. I'm sorry, it's just not part of my community policy to let people act like jerks in chat. So here we go. I'm going to write it down. VR999. Thank you for being here, and don't come again soon. Okay. If you don't want to come, don't come back. All right, so I used to teach high school, so I don't really need any kind of thing like that. So here I have some sketches, and I'm going to just Now again, I kind of fell back on my horses and my plants and things. And I'm going to be drawing in my sketchbook, and then I'm going to be painting with gouache. I drew that stuff in my little sketchbook, and now I'm just going to kind of look at stuff, and the stuff I sketched, that just came as I started to sketch in my sketchbook, and I didn't want you to have to sit through the whole drawing thing. So now I'm just gonna lightly sketch that stuff into my big sketchbook, and I'm gonna start painting. I'm gonna use some colored pencils in here today, I think. Let's see how it goes with those. So I want to keep everything super loose in here. I'm not going to worry about, and things could change like throughout the process of drawing this. So I'm going to just let things kind of work out and evolve as I paint in here. And I'm going to put a nice horse in. Nothing has to be perfect when you put it in. It'll always change. It can evolve as it goes along. I want this to be somewhat abstracted. So things don't have to be in proportion, I want to say, when I'm doing this particular scene. I think I'm going to do things that are, some things will be disproportionate. Some things will be bigger than they appear in actual life, and I may put some giant plants in, and things like that. I'm gonna do it kind of more like contemporary, I guess, like in a contemporary art piece, I guess, because it's my sketchbook and I can do pretty much whatever I want. Will I make it into a painting on a canvas? I don't know. It depends on, if I want to continue the idea, or if I'm happy with how it came out. Maybe. I mean, it's something I can think about later. But I always love including animals. I just really love them, and they have played a huge role in my life. So it's why I go back to having them in my art. And that's how you personalize your artwork, is by including the things that are important to you. So when you're trying to find your personal style, that's what you want to look for. Things like that, like what are the things that you really resonate with, and start really doing a deep dive on those things and putting those things into your work, and it will become more meaningful and more personal and more soulful. as you make that kind of a connection with the things that you're portraying in your work. That can be, you know, your friends, your family members. I know a few artists that work from ancestral photographs and things like that, or family photographs, their pets, rescue animals. I don't have to do a huge rendering here either. I'm just getting some information down here because I just want to include a figure, and I'm not sure where that figure is going to go yet. I just want to get something down. I want this to be super playful, so I'm just gonna really have fun building a background and playing with the colors in this. I wanted to have enough information before I start painting those so that I know kind of where it's going or what feeling I want it to have. The other thing that you can bring in is like part of this, I mean, I'm from the Northeast, but I travel a lot, and I've gone out to the Southwest a lot, and I can already feel like I have that kind of, this already has that kind of a feeling with the mountains in the background. And I think part of it is just because I've got this kind of a pinky color in the background, which I'm really enjoying seeing. Although I don't know, it could go in a lot of different ways. Once I start painting, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I just want to get foliage and color, and this is definitely going to be more abstracted, but I definitely want to bring in a lot of flowers and just let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Hi. Hi, Randalgar. You know what? I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope I didn't scare you when I was yelling at that other person. But you know what? I've had so many. I've had a couple of people be really rude. Actually, it's only been a couple of people that have been rude on the live stream before, so I'm not complaining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I think I'm just going to get this little sketch out of the way, and I'm probably going to start just start painting. So yeah, you could actually, I think you could see my setup here. I have a lot of gouache paints here. I'm using the Shinhan gouache, and then I'm going to squish out just a little bit more of the white gouache. I really like to make a lot of tints when I'm painting, so I always go for a little extra. And I have a big, you probably can't see it, but I'm going to show it to you. I have this big tray here that I use for mixing. And then I'm going to put a little bit more on the palette too, because I do use a lot of tints. And even though I have the white gouache in the tray, I like to have fresh white gouache. And this is the Holbein. I always get a big extra tube. I also buy Winsor Newton white gouache extra. And I always have my little, paper towel. I like to have a little paper towel handy in case I need to wipe something up. And I'm just gonna get going because I can't wait to start painting. Thinking, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what color this horse is gonna be. So the horse that I'm working with right now, I don't have my own right now. I've given up my own horses. I have a farm. I've always had them. This is the first time I've not had my own horse since I was very young. But I am considering moving out of the country. My whole family is Italian, so my husband and I are actually thinking seriously about moving to Italy in another year or so. So I have no horses of my own, but I am caring for one. And she's beautiful. She's red. She's like a dark red chestnut horse that just needed some extra TLC. I'm really enjoying taking care of her. She's very sweet. And her owner passed away a while ago. So yeah, she's been really nice. I've always been very lucky that even when I didn't have a horse of my own, I've always been able to take care of other people's horses. So this one is nice. I've done a lot of rescue. I've done a lot of rehabbing with horses. So just really lucky to always have them in my life. So when you're doing this kind of thing, the paint will feel a little different, okay? It's not gonna be quite the same as when we're working on watercolor paper. It kind of resists it a little bit, but it's still very watercolory. So this is a more mixed media way to work with watercolor. It's a little different. But I like it. And I always love my white gouache. I love gouache in general, but I do tend to make a lot of tints, which are any color plus white. I really feel like it. I like my colors. Even in acrylic, I make a lot of tints of white. I'm also going to bring in some of these, I think some of the Neo colors today, because I really love incorporating those into some of these sketchbook pages, and they're a way to draw, but they're also very watercolory. So they'll activate with the water, but you can get a lot of nice mark making in with them. I really love these. These are the Neocolor 2. I have both, but I really like these with as a combination with the watercolor because they activate. Sometimes I don't want them to activate and I'll use the Neocolor 1, but these are really nice when you want mark making and something in a watercolor. They also mix really nicely with the acrylic painting for mixed media effects. This is my old set. I have all the papers off. I always think of them as my naked set because I have taken all the papers off. So I have to be really careful not to mix them up with the Neocolor ones because I have some of those where they don't have any clothing on either. So I have to be really careful. And then, all right, I'm gonna do that. Then I'm gonna get into some of these, I think some of these flowers, because I wanna, some of the colors I have here are so intense that I really have to wash them down a little bit and desaturate them a little bit because they're just so intense. The other thing I do really like about going over a color, and I do this sometimes, is because that color is always going to come through a little tiny bit, and you could actually pull through a little bit and you can see that color coming in. It's just another way to do some mark making, okay? Now, instead of using the paint here, I'm going in with the Neocolor and a very bright yellow, which I think is really setting that off nicely. I really do like to mix my colors. And then I kind of want to intensify this pink a little here. I'm going to grab some of that. I'm softening this pink that was in the flower a little bit with some white, and I'm going to bring it into this mountain behind the horse. And I think I'll probably bring that color across when we go on to the other page. The thing about working in your sketchbook is that you don't have to follow any kind of rules, and you can really experiment with color. You don't have to worry that there's no such thing as a pink mountain, or if you've never seen one, I can tell you that there are, but if you feel like making one, you can. No one is there to tell you you can't make one. I'm going to leave this here on this side just to see if it works when I continue onto the other side. I think it will. I'm going to create some kind of a green for some of these plants, I think. Hi, Bailey Wade. I see you. Thanks for stopping in. I'm going to go in with some of these crayons, I think, for some of these leaf colors, maybe. Now, these are just like, they're watercolor pastels, and sometimes I really like them. Now, if I don't find the right color, or I can't mix the right color that I want, I'm going to have no problem painting it. Maybe. I do like that. I wasn't intending to go so cool with the color, but I kind of like it. I don't usually put cool colors in the front, but I really kind of like that. So I'm going to keep that for that particular pink. I like it. And I have a crayon that's very similar. I'm going to get in here with it. I want to say about these Neo colors that I'm using, that set of Neo colors that I showed a second ago, those are so old that I can't even tell you how long they've lasted. And I take those probably, I mean, I have another set. I have a full set of newer ones, but they have lasted so long, and I've used them so much that I can't even, and I've taken them so many places. I've taken them away. They've been abused, and they are still in such good shape, I mean, they do break eventually, but it's okay because you can use them like that. Now this is a much warmer green, which I also love. This is like a chrome. And you could kind of see like how using the warmer green or using the gouache over the acrylic, it kind of beads up a little bit, but it's, you know, you just keep going over it and it's not a big deal. But when I go over it with one of the Neos, it kind of just behaves itself a little better, you know, and I'm not coloring the whole thing in, I'm just kind of drawing on top, and then it kind of settles itself down a little bit. I wanted this horsey to be I think I might put a little bit more yellow on this one. Yeah. What I love about gouache sometimes is that you can really, if you want to correct something and go over it with a lighter color, you can. And it's not like transparent watercolor is a little less correction friendly. I'm never going to tell you that it's hard, because I don't think it is. I think it's it takes correction, and it's not it just doesn't take it as easily as gouache does. But I really do love the gouache. It's just a joy to work with. I think gouache is kind of more like a little in between acrylic or oil and watercolor, and it's really fun to work with. Okay. Going to get a little bit of more of a I don't want to say a violet. I want to say more like a French ultramarine kind of color here. So leaning toward the violet, but not really violet. Like a French ultramarine light, because they've added quite a bit of white to that. Like this color. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the Neo to it. Once you activate this, it will also act like paint on your in your sketchbook, so you can paint right over it. It's really nice. And these Shinhan gouache are just, they're a professional gouache, but they are just about half the price of some of the ones that are out there. And I really do enjoy using them because I have some really pricey ones on the same palette and I rarely use them. I really like these. I feel like they're really nice to use. I feel like they give amazing coverage, and I just really like them. I think they're a good value. If you've never used gouache and you wanted to try it, this is a really nice set to try. And I have a review on them on my channel. I've talked about them before, so I can link to them again in the description after this goes live tomorrow, if anyone's interested in them. Okay. Now this is a dark brown I'm putting in here, but sometimes I like a dark value. Putting in a dark value can be a little scary sometimes, but sometimes we need them. Even if we're not going to go all the way to black. I don't know what this is. I can't really tell. Oh, this is dark brown too. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to use a little of that moisture, and then I'm just going to go in and put in a really dark value here, I think. I think this is a dark neutral gray is what I grabbed, which is fine. And then I can warm it up with that dark umber. Okay. So I'm kind of using the Neo colors as paint at this point. So let me grab more of the dark umber. And then I'm mixing it. So I'm almost creating a shade with that gray at this point. And I'm really creating a nice dark value there. Because we don't want the whole thing light. If you have no dark values, you won't have any kind of, it won't be, your painting can't be dynamic. You need dark values, mid-tone values, and light values so that you have a dynamic composition. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna make, I don't know if I'll get through this whole thing. I might only get half of it done today. Let's see. We'll see how far we got. All right, so we have this very cool, let's see, very cool green here. Now I want to make that darker for the bottom. So let's see. I may make a shade of that now. I have this color. I'm gonna just see if that works. Yeah, I want to do something like this and my background down here. So I'm gonna do that. The other thing that doing this, these darker greens and things in the background, it's going to pop against all this pink because they're complementary colors. So I'm kind of doing that on purpose. Having these, all this green over next to and around the pink. I'm kind of doing that on purpose to get those complementary colors next to each other and have that come up through the pink pop in through the background. That's a sneaky trick because what happens is putting the complementary colors next to each other is always going to give you a dynamic color pop. And when you start using complementary colors like that, it automatically just makes your colors pop out. And you see when I'm putting this Stalo green right next to that pink, it's just gonna sing because it's the colors are opposite each other on the color wheel. The other way you can know when it's a complement is if you think about the 3 primary colors. So whenever you take 2 of those, so they're red, yellow, and blue, of course. So when you mix 2 together, the leftover one is the complement of the one that you created. So if we have red and green being complements, you would take blue and yellow to make green, right? So you know that red is the complement of green. And so on. Yes, and I really like this particular color that I don't seem to have on my palette. So I'm gonna just use my Neo color to create it on here, I think. And that's okay, because you know they're designed to draw with, but also to paint with. So we can use the colors that way. And I'm still mixing in some of the cool blue into this Neo color, which is giving it, you know, a kind of a dimensional quality. Because I don't want to completely erase my mark making when I'm going over where I drew. Because I kind of like the texture of that. Anytime you're drawing, you're getting some interesting lines and things just from putting down your marks. And that's important. No one's able to do that the way you do it. It's so important to the uniqueness of how you create art, how you put down your marks. It's super important. Hi, Randolgnar. I see you. Hi, Yellowbell Moses. I see you. I'm glad I'm inspiring you to go play with your gouache. I'm glad you came by. I'm having fun too. I love gouache. Gouache is my favorite, I think. I do a lot of acrylic and oil paintings, but I seriously love watercolor and gouache are like my favorite. I think because it was my first medium that I got very serious about when I was younger, and I still paint in watercolor and gouache like all the time. It's like it's the thing that I use probably the most. And it's the only thing I take when I travel. So when I travel or go away someplace, it's the only thing. I take that and some pencils and like the neo colors and things like that, but I don't take anything else because it packs and travels and you could take it anywhere. It's like the best. So today I'm just having fun. But that was the thing I just kind of wanted to talk about like this week was that you don't always have to have a plan, or you don't always have to have an idea when you sit down. You can come out and you can just start messing around, and then if you do that enough, or you just start sketching, your creativity is going to it will kick in if you have a practice in place. Eventually that will just start to take over because we don't always have an idea. We just have to show up and do the work, because sometimes our life gets so busy that we can't really focus, or we don't have we have so many other things going on that we just, maybe we're just not inspired that week. But if we just make the time, even 5 minutes to sit down, or 10 minutes to sit down with a pencil and just start doing a warm up or something. A lot of times ideas are just going to follow. So that's, make that part of your plan, is just, just try to get something started and see what happens. It might not happen every time, but a lot of times you'll be able to get things going. You're not always going to get things going, but a lot of times you can, just by getting into your regular focus and regular practice. A lot of times art's not going to just come looking for you, or your creativity won't come looking for you. You just have to kind of make a point and a schedule and make a point of doing it, because otherwise it's just something else you're going to put off. I kind of like the way this looks, just with the pink coming through and the mark making over the pink. Wow, I kind of like that. I might activate a little bit of this and then let some of it stay, like the mark making. I can't tell what you guys think, but so this is my thing, is that I keep thinking that I may be adding, I have some stuff I'm trying to get buckled up over the next month, but at some point very soon, I like the way that looks a lot. I really like how part of it is a drawing. So what I'd like to do is be able to later this year, or even as early as March, add a second live stream during the week to this channel, because I'm really enjoying doing the live streams, because like I'm coming from a live teaching background, so like to me this kind of resonates with me, and I like that connection. Now going over this with another color is kind of fun too. This is what happened. Now I'm getting sucked into this. So I would really love to be able to do more streaming, and then at some point it would be really fun to be able to bring it onto a Zoom so we could actually talk, because I did an awful lot of teaching on Zoom, and I really enjoyed being able to interact more with everybody on that kind of a platform. That was really, really, really nice. During the pandemic, I taught on Zoom all the time, and I really enjoyed it. Because then you can really, if people have questions, they can talk. I mean, if anybody here has questions, you can always pop in the chat. I check the chat just to see if you guys have questions. And if you do, you could always put them there, and I'll try my best to answer them. Because I want you to feel like you can ask me a question if you had one. All right, I'm just trying to see. I can't really see that. Let's see. What could we do that we could actually see? We could do, I don't know. I don't know. I wanted some energy, so I'm adding some little things in the background here. And then I'm thinking I want, I don't know, maybe some kind of, I don't know. I want some sky back here. I know that I plopped all that, you know, that beigey pink in the background, but that doesn't mean I can't paint over any of it, you know. That's the thing. A lot of times, if you just put a color down, and you could, like I paint in this book in acrylic all the time. It doesn't matter what you use. But, and today I just decided to do gouache. But, you know, you can always go over it with something else. Now, I'm going to go in here, because that's still wet. I'm going to go in with I have a color that's really close to this. If I want to get it more of that color, I'm going to just go in here with this now. This is like a cerulean, I think, or something. Cerulean blue. Yeah. This is fun. This is a fun paint. You know, I kind of like what's happening so far with this. And I kind of like the way that looks, so I might just, I also like the way that pink looked on the mountain. I might change it a little bit for the other side of the page. But actually, it could be a good start for the other side of the page to just get that background in. Because I did really like it. I'm gonna put it behind this other horse, even though I didn't really start the other horse or anything yet, but I really like the sky and that kind of mountain in the background. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I want you guys to see what I'm doing. I keep trying to make sure that you guys can see what I'm working on here. All right, so now I'm gonna do this. I really did like this color back here. So I'm gonna just bring that over onto the other side of this background. And I'm gonna paint for a few more minutes. I might get a little bit more of this done, but I probably won't finish it today because that might take me a long time. Maybe a little bit more, paint a little more. Okay. This is it. Yeah. All right. Now I'm just using my whole crayon. These things are, I think this set is probably like, oh, I think they're at least 6 or 7 years old. And they are still like amazing. So when you look at these, they're a little expensive, but they last forever. I'm not even kidding you how long these things last. I've had them for so many years. And I have another whole set of these that are like the full set. I still take these out all the time just because these are like, oh, look what I did. I took the other one out. I didn't even get the right color out. That's all right. You know what I say? Do it like you meant it. I got that from my friend. Do it like you meant it. If you mess something up, you just have to pretend that was what you intended to do. So you just, so now I'm going to take that other color and work it into the darker color. And I'm going to pretend that's what I wanted to do. And then it'll incorporate, okay? So there's still a lot of lines and mark making on that side. So yeah, it's fine. It's not even a problem. So we're not gonna worry about that. Let's see, maybe we should work on that girl. All right, that's too big a brush for the lady. All right, let's see what we're doing here. I'm gonna mop up some of this mess. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna mop it up. And then, yep, then we gotta make a face. So we just gotta make the face. So we're gonna get some white going here. All right, I'm gonna make, I gotta make some, I'm gonna make some brown. And then I'm mixing my, you know, I'm mixing my flesh tones the way I always do. And then I'm gonna add my colors in the way I always do. All right. All All right, let's get her in here. She's going to be easy, I think. You know, we're not going to put a lot of detail. We're just going to get her blocked in. All right. Now we want her to be I want a little bit of red. She's got to have some rosy cheeks. She's got to be a little darker under her neck. All right, let's see. Make her hair a little darker. Okay. 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 All right. Now our little head's floating in space. So we got to do something about that. Okay. Let's see. What should we do? Got to get her some lips first. Before I do another thing, I'm going to get her some lips. Okay. 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 Let's see. So I'm getting lost in here now. I'm like, oh my goodness. Once I start painting, sometimes I forget to talk. I'm sorry. So here I'm just like, I'm blending her into the horse's mane. I'm saving some safe space for the flowers. I'm kind of planning, I think, and thinking. And so sometimes when I get into right brain, I kind of forget to talk. I'm so sorry about that. It just happens as part of the process. So now I'm going to come in and do a little bit on the horse's face. This horse is going to be a bay horse. So bay horses they're a little bit red with a black mane and tail, and sometimes they have black points. So they'll have like their ears will be black, the tips of their ears and things like that. Or they'll have a little bit of black around their muzzle sometimes. Their legs are black usually. They'll have, they call it having black points. Very pretty. A bay horse is pretty. I've had a lot of bay horses in my life. They're just really pretty, pretty, pretty horses. Okay, this guy is gonna have the ears, ear tips. Ear tips are black. That's a pretty color. Here we are. Okay. So I keep trying to think, what other colors can I bring in? And I'm just gonna go for some bright colors. And don't be afraid to, like, you know, step outside the box a little bit, because, you know, people are always like, oh, you can't put red with pink. And you know what? Who cares? Do whatever you feel like doing. Like, I really wanted some bright red, so I'm not worried about the orangey pink in the background. I just want to see what it looks like. This painting, I mean, normally when you're painting in your sketchbook, it's like you're not doing it on a live stream. It doesn't matter, you know. See what you want to use, you know. And the thing, like when I first started this, I hadn't activated these colors. I had just sprayed them. But now that they've been, like, the thing to have done probably would have been to spray them and leave them for like a half hour, because once they're activated and they're sitting there for a while, they get real creamy, okay? So I didn't do that. So they were more watery and they were beating up. But now that they're like sitting there for a while, they're nice and creamy. And they're sitting on top of this really nicely. And so, yeah, it's everything's like fitting together cohesively and coming together cohesively. I love the way where I did more drawing with the Neo color, and I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but you can see a lot of the pink background coming through, because I didn't activate, in some places I didn't activate all the Neo color, so I like how that background's coming through. That's another thing I really like sometimes about doing some of this as a drawing and then activating some of it but not all of it. So I mean, playing with like either colored pencil or Neo color, color pencil and watercolor or gouache is a beautiful combination. Like even color pencil, you could get like these really beautiful like little marks and things. Like you can go back and like see this little this is kind of like a whisper of an idea of a plant that I put up here. But then you could go in here with like another related color to the Neo color with like this. This is like just a regular watercolor pencil or a regular color pencil. And you could just really kind of embellish on that. And add some more marks or detail with it. And it just comes out really interesting. There's so many different possibilities. And bringing that green in, you're also getting that little, what we talked about before, that little complementary pop of color against the pink. Those are all little things that you can play with and try and experiment with when you're doing this kind of stuff. All options. I really like those colors that we were using on the other side. And see, now that this is all creamy and activated, I can come back in. It's not beating up at all now, where before it kind of was. I should have really come out earlier and really activated that paint sooner. And I wouldn't have had that kind of ball beating up issue that I had a little earlier. But I'm not complaining. I really am not. Because in some of those places, I kind of like the effect I was getting. I'm just kind of repeating some of my lines where I want to make some things darker. I'm not painting over the whole thing because I like the way the lines look. I just want to. Some of the places where it beat it up, I really like what happened. Okay. I think I'm going to. I'm going to go in with this. Now I've got the Neocolor white and So I went in with a very bright chartreuse, and now I'm coming back in with a little bit of the white to tone it down a little bit. But I really wanted it to be bright. I use a lot of really bright colors in my work, so when they get really bright, I don't get nervous. I just get in there and I try not to stress out. If it looks too crazy, I know I can tone them down, but I really love bright colors. And part of my painting style is just having those really saturated colors in my work. So it's just part of how I paint. And I don't really tend to stress out if it looks a little crazy when I first lay it down. It can be scary, I guess. All right. I'm like, what did I do here? I must have stuck my arm in it. I do that a lot. That's why when I'm really working on a big painting, it goes on the easel, so I can't really do that. But I am a mess. All my sleeves on my sweaters have paint everywhere on them. It's all right. It's what I do. I'm so used to it. And then I don't know if I don't think I want this same color here. So I'm gonna do, oh, I can't do that color. Let me see. What could I do? I'm thinking, here, let me think of something different. Oh, I know what I'll do. I don't know. Maybe this color would be better. Oh, yeah, that might be. That could work. I think I'm gonna do this. Can you, yeah. All right. Now I know this is really bright and really weird, but I don't care. Because I'm not going for like, you know, I'm not going for the colors, what we would call in art local color. Local color is when you're trying to match exactly the colors that you see wherever it is you're painting. You know, like you go there and you're trying to like do essentially like what you'd see in a photograph. This is a different color than I have on the other side. So I'm gonna do a slightly different color. But I like this. I think it'll look nice. And then I can just... Now, I really didn't have a plan when I came out. And then I just did a little sketch in my book. And then I was like, you know, this could be fun. And I did use some of my go-to stuff. But that's sometimes what you have to do, you know. And once you have an established routine and style and you know what you like to work on, it gets easier. And it's easier to generate ideas. And, you know, I have several things I'm kind of working towards, so, but this is not really actually in in the series that I'm working on, but, you know, it's in my general wheelhouse, I want to say, because it's my topics are, you know, portraits, animals, flowers and plants. This is more I do like the fact that it's like it's definitely color block, blocks of different colors. I like what happened with the sizing of the objects. I like that the sizes are interrupted, like, so like these flowers are obviously little flowers that we blew up, and then, you know, everything is floating on a landscape, so it's not like you know, it's kind of more of a contemporary art piece. I could see this working in oil or acrylic and being something really fun, you know, that I could create in oil maybe, or more and more they really seem to prefer the oil paintings when I'm, you know, when I submit to shows and stuff, even though I really feel like those acrylic paintings are just as good in every sort of way, they really seem to prefer the oil paintings now. They just really do. There's just such a prejudice against the acrylic paintings that it's like they really want you to send them the oil paintings. So if that's what we got to do, I guess I'll just make more of them. But I'm sneaky. I do I do an acrylic painting on the bottom, and then I just paint oil over the top, which is perfectly okay. They don't, you know, that's acceptable. You can do that, and I do it all the time. I just paint a base of acrylic, and then I go over the top of it with my oil painting. So it's one way to do it. Oil and oil stick on top. And a lot of artists do that. It's okay. It's perfectly okay. Well, this was a fun one. I had fun making this. Does anybody have any kind of questions for me or anything they want to ask me today? I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right. Let's see. Do I have that color? I think I do. There it is. That's the other thing I really love about these, is that they really do come in all the colors. So if you have like a watercolor or a gouache color, chances are you're going to have it, and they're going to have it in the Neo color. They really do come in a lot of colors. And when you're activating them, you can still get beautiful marks. And I love mark making so much. I think it brings so much to your work. So I really enjoy, I've always loved drawing. So for me, to be able to paint and you know, use these to come in and create some nice marks in the painting and stuff, it's still, and you can see how having that underpainting and leaving just a little of it, it creates a lot of interest. And I do that with my paintings too. A lot of times I will underpaint in an interesting color or a bright color, and even if most of it gets covered up, it will peek through, and it adds a lot of dimension to a painting. there's a real lot that could be explored with this, I think. And even if it was just like this far over, I think you could do I think I could do something really interesting with this composition um, in a bigger piece. And so I never feel like anything that I do in my sketchbook is a waste of time. I always feel like exploring an idea that could be, you know, taken someplace further. And it's always a mindful process. It's never a waste for me to sit down and do something in my sketchbook. I always feel like I've learned something, I've gained something, and I'm so glad you could be here with me while we were doing all this. And thanks, Isabel. I'm glad you were here. And so I think I will probably just end this here for now. And yeah, like I said, I could see this like from here. Maybe I don't know about this horse. Maybe just like this part of it. I think I really like. And yeah, I really had fun doing this one. So, all right. So I will see you all. I will have, hi everybody. I do this every week. Yeah, I always have my hat on because I'm always freezing. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'll have a video out this week, you know, and then I'll be back on Sunday for another live stream. So thank you all for coming, and I will see you then.